Discover God's incredible plan. 7 miraculous blessings await as you wait in faith and prayer. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. The Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, with some of the vessels of the house of God. And he brought them to the land of Shinar, to the house of his God, and placed the vessels in the treasury of his God. Daniel 1 verses 1-2, ESV. Amidst the chaos of war, Daniel, the young jewel of Jerusalem, felt the pull of destiny weaving inexorably around him, promising not just survival but purpose. Snatched from his familiar surroundings alongside his esteemed companions, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, the young men were hurled into the opulent halls of the foreign king's court. Here, extravagant banquets and plentiful feasts mingled with the sounds of foreign tongues and bedecked rituals. Yet, these young Jewish men, their identities threaded with the fabric of faith, felt the weight of their heritage pressing down upon them like a pall. "We are different," they declared silently, embodying a light meant to shine amidst encroaching darkness. Yet darkness loomed larger than day, as the lavish meats and wines of Babylon's table beckoned seductively. Struggles surfaced within Daniel as the rich fare introduced a deep moral dilemma, a clash between the customs of their captors and the commandments of their God. Daniel resolved in his heart, "I will not defile myself with the king's food or with the wine that he drinks." Daniel 1 verse 8, ESV. His determination ignited a spark of hope. Approaching the chief eunuch, he offered an alternative, a simple diet of vegetables and water. "Test your servants for 10 days, Daniel pleaded, trusting not in himself but in Yahweh to sustain them through their obedience. As days unfurled into weeks, a divine hand orchestrated their remarkable transformation. They appeared healthier and better nourished than all the others who indulged in the king's provisions. Witnessing their vigor, the chief eunuch was astounded, but it was the wisdom and understanding that flowed upon them like streams of living water that compelled the king to surround himself with these faithful young men. Daniel 1 verses 17-20. Yet unbeknownst to them, a more intense trial was on the horizon. Nebuchadnezzar, crowned with pride and seeking worship, had erected an enormous golden image that towered above the land, demanding reverence from all who walked beneath its shadow. Daniel 3 verse 1. What would they choose? Fear gripped the hearts of many, but Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah stood resolute. They couldn't bow, their surrender to an idol would signify the extinguishing of their hope. With unwavering voices, they proclaimed, "If this be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace." Daniel 3 verse 17, ESV. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select All Notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As they stood before the king, the air thickened with impending doom. The threshold of the king's wrath loomed closer, the flames of the furnace flickering ominously beyond them, offering a stark image of the fiery trials that lay ahead. But amidst the uncertainty, their hearts clung resolutely to their Creator, the shadows of doubt retreating in the face of their faith. What awaited them in the fiercest trial? Would God intervene as they placed their trust in Him, or would they be consumed by the flames? The divine mystery swirled around them, amplifying the prominence of hope in the unfolding drama. Secrets of God's plan lingered tantalizingly on the horizon, inviting them to steadfastly wait in prayer and faith, eager to uncover the extraordinary. As the echo of their declaration faded into the air thick with tension, King Nebuchadnezzar's face transformed in wrath. His countenance darkened, a storm brewing in his chest. "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden image I have set up?" he thundered. Daniel 3 verse 14, ESV. The flames danced hungrily behind, each flicker a reminder of the consequences of their firm stand. Yet the three young men remained unmoved, their eyes locked on the fiery furnace and then back to the king. "We have no need to answer you in this matter. If this be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up." Daniel 3 verses 16-18 ESV. Their words rang with courage paired with submission to the sovereign will of God, a testimony of the faith woven into their very beings. The king's fury peaked, his command resounded throughout the expanse of the palace. "Heat the furnace 7 times more than it is usually heated. Bind them and cast them into the fire." Daniel 3 verses 19-20 ESV. As the soldiers seized them, the heat radiated in waves, a prelude to a torment unimaginable. But even as they were led toward the fiery mouth, no tremor of fear gripped their hearts. The knowledge of God's faithfulness nestled deep within them like a well-tended flame. Crowds gathered, drawn by the spectacle, men of great authority, the governors and satraps, all witnessing what they believed to be the end of defiance. Into the furnace, the 3 faithful sons of Israel were cast, their bound forms swallowed whole by the inferno. Daniel 3 verse 21 ESV. The flames roared and cackled, a fury unleashed, yet something miraculous began to unfold. To the astonishment of all present, a sight emerged from the flames. 4 figures walked unbound within the furnace, radiant and unharmed. "Look!" cried one of the king's trusted advisers, "I see 4 men unbound, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt, and the appearance of the 4th is like a son of the gods." Daniel 3 verse 25 ESV. A holy hush fell over the onlookers, and Nebuchadnezzar rose in haste, bewildered by what his eyes beheld. "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, and come here." Daniel 3 verse 26 ESV. Their emergence from the furnace was not merely an act of escape but a testimony of divine deliverance, as not even a hair on their heads was singed, nor did the smell of smoke cling to their garments. The king could do nothing but proclaim the glory of the God who had saved them. Daniel 3 verses 27-29 ESV. As Nebuchadnezzar honored the God of Israel, a crescendo of reverence arose from the crowd, but the hearts of the young men remained steadfast. They had passed through the fire, not just as survivors, but as instruments of a greater purpose. For through their trial, a witness was birthed, a testament of faith ignited to spark hope in dungeons of despair. But what awaited them next in this unfolding narrative? Would their faith lead to deeper revelations of God's sovereign plans, expanding beyond the confines of the furnace? The dawn of understanding began to break, heralding a significant moment in history, as God's hand continued to write his story upon the tapestry of nations. The true depth of his plans remained veiled, whispering promises yet to be fulfilled, urging all who would listen to stay the course, awaiting the greater revelation of his glory. And as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stepped out of that fiery inferno, a shroud of awe enveloped the gathered throng. Their faces shone not from the fire, but from a light that emanated from above, an unmistakable mark of the God they served with unwavering hearts. Nebuchadnezzar, astounded yet humbled, proclaimed with mighty authority, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants, who trusted in him and set aside the king's command, and yielded up their bodies rather than serve and worship any god except their own God." Daniel 3 verse 28 ESV. The words flowed with reverence, echoing in the dusty air, capturing the essence of his divine encounter. In that moment, the king issued a decree that no one in his realm would speak against the God of Israel, for a fearsome resolve had gripped his spirit. "For there is no other God who is able to rescue in this way." Daniel 3 verse 29 ESV. The proclamation ignited a beacon of faith amidst a people long entrenched in idolatry, a spark destined to light the path toward divine recognition throughout the kingdom. Yet, amidst the thunderous changes of heart, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego remained humble. They looked at one another, understanding the wider significance of what had transpired. Their unyielding faith had become a testament that strength lies not in the absence of fear but in trust in a God who saves and transforms. As their feet touched the ground, they felt the weight of their mission shift. They had been pulled from the flames, yes, but they were also released into a new calling. The world around them, shaped by Nebuchadnezzar's edict, now awaited the unfolding of divine purpose. It was not merely fame or recognition they sought, but the continued glorification of the God who had shown himself. Days turned to weeks, and the trio found themselves not only leaders appointed by the king but also heralds of faith among their people. With each gathering, they shared the Yahweh of their fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and spoke of his deliverance. In the hushed corners of the palace and the busy streets of Babylon, tales of their fiery trial spread like wildfire. Among the people, the story ignited a hunger for truth, the flame of faith flickering in many hearts. Worship began to resonate through the streets, a whisper of hope gaining strength among children of Israel and Babylonians alike. But as they shared the wonders of their God, a new tension arose. For not all were swayed by the works of the Most High. Some held firm to their idols, and others plotted against the favor of the three men. Their unwavering faith had reformed boundaries but also invited a deeper conflict. Would they stand firm again, faced with new trials, as forces gathered against them? As Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego prepared for the battles that lay ahead, their hearts were anchored in the promises of God, reshaping their very essence. As they sought insights from God in prayer, a sense of anticipation coursed through their souls. What new revelations awaited them? What further acts of divine sovereignty would they witness? A whisper fell upon the wind, a melody of destiny unshackled. In the silence encircling the night, they could feel, just beyond their vision, the stirring of God's greater plan unfolding like a tapestry woven with threads of fire, faith, and freedom. For the echoes of their faith had just begun to ripple through history, inviting all to witness the larger story of redemption yet to reveal its depth. The question lingered like a divine riddle: how would God continue to move powerfully through the faithful, beckoning forth hearts to trust amid the trials to come? In the days that followed, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego became watchmen over both the people and the promises of God. Their newfound influence spread across Babylon like a sweet fragrance, transforming fear into faith and igniting a revival of devotion. Yet, whispers in the shadows drove a wedge amongst those who clung to their idols, their hearts twisted with jealousy and resentment. Among the advisors and officials who had observed the three men's unwavering conviction lay a cadre loyal to Nebuchadnezzar but unsettled by the recent decree. In the dark corners of the palace and the markets, they conspired, veiling their treachery in the guise of friendship. Thus, the seeds of deceit began to take root, nourished by fear of losing their standing. One fateful day, as Nebuchadnezzar held court, those who would oppose the faithful rose with boldness. "O king, live forever. You have decreed that every man who hears the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, and bagpipe must fall down and worship the golden image." Their voices rang out with feigned loyalty, each word spoken with malice concealed beneath a fabric of civility. "But," they continued, "there are certain Jews whom you have appointed over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men do not pay attention to you, they do not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up." Daniel 3 verse 12, ESV. Their dark laughter rippled through the air, like the rustle of leaves before a storm. A flicker of rage ignited in the heart of Nebuchadnezzar, for he had admired these men, yet now his countenance blazed like the very furnace to which they had previously been subjected. He summoned them to his presence, demanding an audience where betrayal would unfold. "Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden image I have set up?" Daniel 3 verse 14, ESV. Steadfast as ever, they stood before him. "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If this be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up." Daniel 3 verses 16 to 18 ESV. Their voices rang out with calm conviction, unfurling like a banner over a valley of despair. The king's fury boiled over, his face contorting with rage and disbelief. He commanded, "Heat the furnace 7 times hotter than it was usually heated," and his men bound them with ropes, preparing to cast them into the flames. But amidst the sweat of labor and the heat that surrounded them, the 3 men remained unwavering. They lifted their eyes, their hearts sealed with faith, embracing the knowledge of a God who intervenes in the realms of earth and heaven alike. As they were thrown into the furnace, Nebuchadnezzar peered into the blaze, his eyes failing to comprehend the miraculous scene unfolding before him. "Did we not cast 3 men bound into the fire?" he questioned, bewildered. "But I see 4 men unbound, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt, and the appearance of the 4th is like a son of the gods." Daniel 3 verses 24 to 25 ESV. A profound silence enveloped the hearts of many, the truth of faith laid bare before their eyes. What did it mean? How would the sovereign plans of the Almighty draw forth light from shadows? In a moment, the chaotic silence crescendoed into divine revelation. A voice echoed, rich with understanding, stirring the hearts of those present. The tapestry of God's purpose had not yet been fully woven, and the threads of faith were being drawn taut, leading into further depths of a divine mystery. What greater act of providence awaited? What future glories would arise from the fires of trial? The unfolding story of redemption was yet to reveal its full splendor before the onlookers, each one beckoning for the divine to orchestrate a response that could change history forever. As the flames danced and roared around Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the watchers of Babylon gasped, their voices stilled in an awe-filled disbelief. Nebuchadnezzar himself, notorious for his tyrannical resolve, found no words. His heart thudded in his chest as the sight before him challenged his understanding of power and divinity. "Come out!" the king barked, his voice trembling, unsure whether he commanded men of flesh or beings of light. And with a shimmering quality, the 3 emerged from the furnace, the wrath of fire powerless against their faithfulness. Not a hair of their heads was singed, nor did they carry the smoky odor that would cling to any man who had faced such heat. There they stood, with the radiance of faith illuminating the haze of rebellion. The people, once his loyal subjects, broke into whispers, many of them trembling as the fear of the Lord began to settle upon their hearts. Surely, they thought among themselves, their God was unlike any known. "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego," Nebuchadnezzar proclaimed, his voice cracking with unexpected reverence. "For he has sent his angel and delivered his servants, who trusted in him." Daniel 3 verse 28 ESV. The insatiable fires of the furnace could not consume the men who stood resolute in their convictions. Instead, it forged a testimony of deliverance that set forth ripples across the realm. With a newfound authority, King Nebuchadnezzar took a bold step, declaring, "Any people, nation, or language that speaks anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be torn limb from limb, and their houses laid in ruins." His heart swelled with recognition of the Almighty's supremacy, albeit perhaps still shrouded in the blindness of kingly pride. For there is no other God who is able to rescue in this way. Daniel 3 verse 29 ESV. So it was that the 3 men were elevated in the province of Babylon, their faith becoming the cornerstone of a new decree that challenged the very fabric of Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom. But beyond the walls of the palace, change stirred among the people. The idols that once held their hearts began to crumble under the weight of the testimony they witnessed. Yet in this turning tide, shadows danced in the corridors of power and among the advisers of the king. The plans of men, dark and relentless, began to whisper again, for where there is light, darkness seeks to cast its veil. The trio's miraculous deliverance ignited not only belief but also anxiety among those who thrived on deception. While Nebuchadnezzar's heart fluttered with a newfound allegiance to the God of Israel, the regents who had conspired against the 3 grew restless. "What of our positions?" they murmured behind closed doors. "We cannot allow this rabble to disrupt our power." Thus, they plotted, weaving their schemes anew as the enemies of faith ever will, devising a system that would ensnare the faithful even more tightly. But the heart of God, faithful to his promises, was not blind to their plots. And as the sovereignty of heaven watched over the land, plans were set in motion greater than mere survival, greater than earthly rebellion. The stage was being prepared for a revelation unparalleled in the history of nations. What will emerge from this web of conspiracy, and what further acts of divine intervention await amidst the darkness? The Lord, who had been with them in the fire, was poised to manifest the extent of his glory, reaching beyond the furnace of trial, ushering in the dawn of a redemptive purpose none could foresee. Let the watchers remain vigilant, for the depths of God's sovereign plan were about to unfold in ways that would echo throughout eternity. And it came to pass, in the days that followed Nebuchadnezzar's declaration, that the hearts of the people of Babylon began to sway like reeds in the wind, caught between the majesty of the God of Israel and the whispers of their own desires. The king's decree reverberated through the streets, instilling a newfound reverence, yet the darkness did not relent. The regents, fearful for their positions, gathered in secrecy. Now the time has come, one of them declared, a cunning gleam in his eye. If we are to retain our influence, we must devise a plan to test these men who defy our gods. We shall lay a snare more subtle than before, another added, and from the very laws of Babylon, we can craft our trap. Thus, they conspired to create a law that would ensnare the faithful, an edict that forbade prayer to any god or man other than Nebuchadnezzar for 30 days. In this way, they plotted, if these men remain resolute, they shall betray their loyalty to the king, and we shall have them. Their voices lowered to whispers as they gave birth to a wicked scheme. Meanwhile, in the quiet chambers of their homes, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego knelt before the one true God, their faces marked with determination. Day by day, they continued in prayer, each moment a declaration of their faith. For they knew, as it is written, the prayer of a righteous person has great power as it is working. James 5 verse 16, ESV. Their window opened unto Jerusalem, the holy city, and they sought the counsel of their hearts, leaning upon the promises of the Lord, who said, Call upon me in the day of trouble, I will deliver you, and you shall glorify me. Psalm 50 verse 15, ESV. They understood now more than ever, their prayers were not merely petitions but edicts of faith that could command the heavens. As the days grew closer to the enacting of the decree, the regents, emboldened in their treachery, brought forth the matter before Nebuchadnezzar. O king, live forever. We propose a statute that all may serve you alone as God and bow before your might, they proclaimed. Anyone who disobeys shall be cast into the den of lions. Sign the decree, O king, they urged, so that none may dare defy your sovereign will. And Nebuchadnezzar, full of pride and flattery, sealed the document with his ring, unaware his own heart would soon be caught in the very web he sought to weave. But in the shadows of the palace, amidst the stirring of the conspirators, the Spirit of the Almighty was at work. For God had not forgotten his faithful servants, nor had he abandoned them to despair. As the sun solidified into the heart of the day, the three steadfast men continued their prayers, unfurling the banner of their confidence in the Lord. They knew the command of the king would bear no weight upon them, for their allegiance lay with the Creator of the universe. In the heights of heaven, the angels bore witness to this holy defiance and the imminent clash of kingdoms. And unbeknownst to all, the unfolding of God's glorious plan, laden with blessings for those who remained faithful, was about to reveal truths that would confound the wise and shake the very foundations of Babylon's power. What awaited those who stayed true in the fire of adversity? As the shadows of danger loomed closer, their hearts remained loyal, and the sovereign hand of God was preparing to intervene in miraculous ways, ensuring that his purposes would blossom amid trials. Let the faithful prepare, for unprecedented revelations were drawing nigh. Blessings beyond measure awaited as they persisted in their devotion, anchored in the promise of God's unfailing love. And it came to pass, when the decree was publicly proclaimed throughout Babylon, that the hearts of many became fearful, for the people trembled before the anger of the king. Yet in their secret chambers, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego remained steadfast, unyielding in their devotion. They knelt and prayed thrice daily, lifting their voices unto the heavens, affirming their loyalty to the God of Israel, the Creator of the ends of the earth. The regents, emboldened by the king's seal, watched with keen eyes, eager to catch these men in their act of defiance. Their hearts were hardened, for pride and envy draped a heavy veil over their souls. They reported to the king, saying, "O king, live forever. Have you not commanded that every man who prays to any god or man besides you shall be cast into the den of lions?" With malicious delight, they continued, "There are certain Jews whom you have set over the affairs of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They pay no heed to you, O king. They do not serve your gods, nor worship the golden image that you have set up." Nebuchadnezzar's countenance changed, his fury ignited. He summoned the three men into his presence. "Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego," he thundered, "that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden image that I have set up? Now if you are ready, when you hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the harp, the lyre, and the symphony of all kinds of music, to fall down and worship the image which I have made, good. But if you do not worship, you shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you from my hands?" Without trembling before the might of the king, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego responded, saying, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that is the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the golden image which you have set up." At their defiance, the king's rage intensified, and he commanded the furnace be heated 7 times more than it was usually heated. His soldiers bound Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in their coats, trousers, turbans, and other garments, and cast them into the midst of the fiery furnace. The flames leaped forth and consumed the mighty men who had brought them forth, and despair swept over the onlookers as the scene unfolded. But as the smoke billowed and the fire roared, a miraculous wonder transpired. The king, astonished, leapt up and said to his counselors, "Did we not cast 3 men bound into the fire? Look! I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God." In that moment, the glory of the Lord illuminated the furnace as he honored the faith of his servants. Then Nebuchadnezzar approached the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and called out, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here." As they emerged from the flames, not a hair on their heads was singed, their coats were not burned, and the smell of fire was not upon them. The witnesses stood amazed, trembling in awe at the power of the Most High. And Nebuchadnezzar spake, saying, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him." His heart began to turn, for he recognized that the God of Israel was far greater than the gods he had set in his palace. What then shall we say of this? God's faithful one stood resolute, and amid the fury of the world's might, he revealed his sovereign hand. The plans of the regents would falter, and the deliverance of the Lord would speak of his power. Truly, all who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength, as even now, his marvelous works are unfolding awaiting to reveal yet more wonders that glorify his name. What future tests lie ahead, ordained in God's sovereign plan, remain yet to be fully unveiled. Then Nebuchadnezzar, filled with astonishment, turned to his counselors and commanded that all the people of Babylon should gather for an assembly to witness the mighty acts of the God who had delivered his faithful servants. His voice reverberated through the halls of his palace, proclaiming, "It is decreed that every nation, tribe, and tongue shall speak nothing against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. For there is no other God who can deliver like this." The gathering was swift, and soon all of Babylon came forth, their hearts filled with trepidation yet curiosity. Nebuchadnezzar's words echoed within them as the sun cast its golden rays upon the scene, an impressive display of the king's authority intermingled with the awe of the Israelites' God. As the multitude assembled, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stood once again before the king. Their faces were unmarked by fear, radiant with the testimonies of their faithfulness. The king's demeanor softened as he beheld them, and the truth of their God began to permeate his spirit. "I see now the power of your God," he declared. "He has not only saved you from the flames but also set a testimony before all who witness this miracle." In the days that followed, a change swept through the kingdom. The 3 men of Israel were elevated above all others within the province of Babylon, placing the fear of the Lord into the heart of Nebuchadnezzar. They administered the affairs of the realm with wisdom and integrity, steadfast in their testimony and unwavering in their commitment to their God. Yet, unknown to the king, a shadow loomed. For the regents who spurred the decree and sought the downfall of God's servants grew even more embittered by their failure. They conspired in secret, whispering among themselves, "This miracle shall not go unchallenged. These men must be silenced again, or our positions will be forever at stake." As darkness began to weave a plot against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the king's heart was torn. He adored their presence yet battled within to comprehend the greatness of the God they served. Night after night, he found himself unable to dismiss the image of the fiery furnace and the 4th figure walking among the flames, who bore the likeness of the Son of God. In this turmoil, God spoke to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, revealing to them in prayer the further trials that awaited. "Be prepared," he said, "for greater tests of faith shall come, yet remember my promise. I will be with you." Then a decree came forth once again, twisted by the hands of those wielding influence. The king, manipulated by flatteries and fear, would command yet another idol. This time, he required not only worship but the very allegiance of his people in a great festival, causing the hearts of the faithful to tremble. For God was not done unfolding his plan, nor revealing his purposes among the nations. In the shadows, whispers of the regents sowed seeds of rebellion, while Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego braced themselves for the next chapter of their faith journey, understanding that with each trial, a greater manifestation of God's glory was destined to rise. Oh, what mysteries lie ahead, as the divine narrative leads toward a confrontation that would echo through centuries, revealing the unfathomable depths of God's sovereign purposes beyond the fiery furnace, toward a greater deliverance that would one day change the course of all mankind. In the days that followed Nebuchadnezzar's decree, unrest festered among the courtiers of Babylon. The regents, stung by their public humiliation, conspired with vehemence in hushed tones, plotting to ensnare Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego once more. "If the king seeks to honor their God," they whispered, "let us bend the narrative to our advantage. We shall devise a plan that compels him to see them as traitors." Thus, they approached the king with false flattery, their eyes sparkling with deceit. "O king, live forever. The dedication of your empire deserves a celebration that shall ring throughout the ages. Let a golden image be erected in your likeness, and let it be established that at the sound of the music, all must fall down and worship. He who disobeys shall know the king's wrath," they urged. Nebuchadnezzar, caught up in their machinations, saw only glory and validation in the praise of his vast empire. "So be it," he declared. Thus, the image was made, and a great festival was proclaimed throughout the land, drawing all to partake in a grand display of loyalty to the king. But deep within the hearts of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, a conviction burned brighter than the gold of the image. They knew the commands of their God: "You shall have no other gods before me," Exodus 20 verse 3. They had seen his hand protect them amid flames, and they would not forsake their allegiance now, even at the risk of their lives. As the day of the festival arrived, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement. The musicians played, and the people gathered, eager to join the throng. Yet amidst the clamor, the 3 men held their ground, resolute in faith. The call rang out, "To your knees," in praise of the king. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stood tall. Their stance echoed the words of the prophet who spoke, "For the Lord your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God," Deuteronomy 4 verse 24. The music ceased abruptly as eyes turned towards the 3 men. Gasps rippled through the crowd, and Nebuchadnezzar, upon hearing of their disobedience, felt rage ignite within him. Bring them before me. He bellowed, for his heart still wrestled with the evidence of their God's power. Though he desired loyalty, uncertainty clouded his judgment. Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? He questioned, eyes burning like the fire he had previously commanded. Will you not bow down to the image I have set up? If so, you shall be cast immediately into the burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you out of my hands? The three men, undeterred, replied boldly, O king, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If this be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But even if he does not, we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image you have set up. Daniel 3 verses 16-18. Nebuchadnezzar's fury swelled to unimaginable heights, and he commanded the furnace to be heated 7 times hotter. Yet he knew not that the echoes of their faith would resonate far beyond this moment, for God's plans were a tapestry woven through time, revealing the depths of his glory even amid the flames. As the fire roared, the stage was set, but the true spectacle was yet to unfold. For God was preparing to demonstrate not just deliverance but a display of his infinite might and mercy, manifesting in ways unseen by the watchful eyes of men. All of heaven watched, awaiting the divine revelation that would emerge from the furnace's fiery embrace. God was still sovereign, crafting a narrative that none could fathom, a story of salvation that transcended the ages, leading towards a promise yet to be revealed, a promise that in all trials, his perfect love would cast out fear. 1 John 4 verse 18. And it came to pass that the appointed hour of trial drew near, and the multitude gathered around the furnace, a stillness hovering in the air, pregnant with anticipation and dread. King Nebuchadnezzar, wild with rage and fear, cast his gaze upon the three men he had admired and now turned against. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stood before him, their hearts clad in faith, unshaken by the flames that crackled ferociously behind them. O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the king thundered, his voice rattling like the very chains that held them, is it true that you do not serve my gods or worship the golden image I have set up? You dare defy the command of the king? Steadfast, the three men answered in harmony, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If our God whom we serve is able to deliver us, he will deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and if not, we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up. Daniel 3 verses 16-18 ESV. Their conviction resounded louder than the flames themselves, a proclamation of faith that pierced through the tumult of doubt. In disbelief, Nebuchadnezzar's fury crescendoed to a breaking point. Heat the furnace 7 times more than it is usually heated, he commanded, casting them into the purging fire. Bound by cords, they were thrust into the inferno, a sight that rattled the spirits of all who watched. Yet as the heat roared like a beast unleashed, a divine miracle was in motion, unseen by the naked eyes. But lo! As the flames danced ferociously, the king stumbled back, stricken by an image far beyond his comprehension. Did we not cast 3 men bound into the fire? He cried, perplexed, as he peered closer. His eyes widened, bewildered, as he saw 4 figures unbound, walking in the flames. I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt, and the appearance of the 4th is like a son of the gods. Daniel 3 verses 24-25 ESV. A holy reverence cascaded over the crowd, for the Almighty had stepped into the trial, manifesting his glory amidst the flames. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, Nebuchadnezzar called out, awe filtering through his voice, come out, and come here. Daniel 3 verse 26, ESV. The 3 emerged, victorious, their faces aglow with testimony, a pure reflection of trust rewarded, not a hair singed, nor even the smell of smoke lingering upon them. Nebuchadnezzar's heart trembled, his arrogance shattered before the unmistakable power of the God of Israel. Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, he proclaimed, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants, who trusted in him. Daniel 3 verse 28, ESV. His decree rang through the land, a turning tide sweeping away idolatry, calling upon all to honor the Lord. This very hour, I decree that any people, nation, or language that speaks anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be torn limb from limb, and their houses laid in ruins. Daniel 3 verse 29 ESV. The words flowed with newfound humility, reflection of a king whose heart was changing, stared down by the reality of God's intervention, and who saw the spark of faith reignite within his own. Thus converted, the king bowed to the sovereign will of the Almighty, the testimonies of deliverance illuminating even the darkest corners of Babylon. The fire had forged a bond of faith, shaping a covenant of grace palpable to hearts across the empire. As weeks turned to months, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego became pillars of faith, a living testimony to the power of the God who is able to deliver, not only from fire but from every bondage. They recounted their experience, illuminating others with the truth of God's unfailing presence, igniting hope in countless hearts. In the tapestry of God's unfolding plan, the embers of their fiery testimony reached far beyond Babylon's walls, whispering promises that echoed through cities and generations, reminders that his faithful ones are never alone in their trials. For as faith shines brightest in the fire, so too does the God of Israel remain sovereign, orchestrating redemption, love, and promise eternal. In the culmination of time, let each heart call upon the name of the Lord, for deliverance is always at hand for those who stand firm in faith, undeterred by the flames of trial or the threats of men. Know this, God's purposes crafted in the furnace of life are wondrous to behold. In light of this miraculous unfolding of God's sovereign plan, I invite you, dear friend, to stand firm. Subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next powerful biblical stories, for you need to stay connected to God's Word. Leave a like now to help spread His truth through the algorithm. Comment your reflections, sharing how this divine testimony has impacted your faith, and don't wait even one more second to share this powerful story with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's unwavering truth. Together, let us spread His faithfulness across the earth, for only believers understand the urgency of proclaiming His glory.